Yes, sir.
Luke?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Very good. That's just really loud, isn't it? In another room, it didn't do that. Okay, it is time to call the special meeting of the Wirt County Board of Education to order. It's August 14th, 2026 at 5 o'clock. We are absent a couple of board members at the moment, but they will be here in just a little bit. So we're going to move some stuff around here in just a minute. Okay, so first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to lead that this evening. Everybody else stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on the agenda, it doesn't have approval agenda, but we're going to do that, okay? So do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, as I said, with my fellow board members' permission, we're going to go ahead and move to routine business. And then we'll come back when Mr. Stewart and Mr. Lowe get here in a couple of minutes. We'll come back and move to you guys, okay? Under routine, under the agenda, we have one name in E. Michaela Propst is in E. Everything else is as presented beforehand. Any questions about the agenda? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, so we're going to go to routine business. Employments. Need a motion to approve the employment of Haley Hennon, substitute teacher, Wirt County Schools, effective for 26-27 school year upon completion of her required paperwork.
So moved.
Any questions on that? Mr. McCown?
So we did have a posting for substitute teachers up. The ones on the list are fully certified and have completed the application and are fully certified to substitute teach.
Any questions about Haley Hennon? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the employment of Haley Hennon as a substitute teacher, Wirt County Schools, effective for 26-27 school year upon completion of her required paperwork. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the employment of Cameron Nelson, substitute teacher, Wirt County Schools, effective for 26-27 school year upon completion of his required paperwork.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
Again, fully certified and happy to add some substitute teacher names to the rolls.
Very good. Any questions on Cameron? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the employment of Cameron Nelson, substitute teacher, Wirt County Schools, effective for 26-27 school year upon completion of his required paperwork. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the employment of Kelsey Edwards, substitute teacher, Wirt County Schools, effective for 26-27 school year upon completion of her required paperwork.
So moved.
Same deal.
Same deal.
I still give you your chance there, Mr. McCown. Any questions on Kelsey? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the employment of Kelsey Edwards, substitute teacher, Wirt County Schools, effective for 26-27 school year upon completion of her required paperwork. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, need a motion to approve the employment of Rachel Tallhammer, substitute teacher, Wirt County Schools, effective for 26-27 school year upon completion of her required paperwork.
So moved.
Questions? Nothing
So
different.
I will say
Okay.
there were a few other applicants that their certification had not processed yet. So if any of those that applied and weren't ran through tonight are watching, when your certification processes, we will bring you back to a subsequent board meeting for hire.
Very good. Any questions on Rachel? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the employment of Rachel Tallhammer, substitute teacher, Wirt County Schools, effective for 26-27 school year upon completion of her required paperwork. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Down to E. Need a motion to approve the employment of Michaela Props, Pre-K Supervisory Aide 2, ECAT, pay grade E, at Wirt County Primary Center.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
As you recall, during RIF and transfer season, Michaela's position is one that got RIFed, but due to our recent retirement that you put through board action and the posting, I'm happy to say that Michaela is the successful bidder on that position, and it will bring her back off the preferred recall list to full-time employment.
Good deal. Any questions on Michaela? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve Michaela Props as Pre-K Supervisory Aide 2, ECAT, pay grade E, Wirt County Primary Center. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. I looked at that and it looked like F there for a second. Knew F would not be right. Okay, we're down to F. Need a motion to approve 26-27 service substitutes for rehire. And we have one name, Amy Alfouter, aide and cook. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
She was just now getting her letter of intent to sub for us this year back in, and so we've brought that back to the board for you to approve.
Any questions on Amy? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the employment of service substitutes for rehire, Amy Alfouter. I know I'm saying that probably wrong. Aide and cook for 26-27 school year. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Down to new business. Need a motion to approve WVUP student for clinical placement, and that is Kelsey Means, and that placement is at Wirt County Middle School.
So moved.
Mr. McCown, anything
So,
we need?
yeah, that letter was in your packet, so happy to have a WVUP placement. We've always had a good working relationship with them, and we're happy to host one of their clinical placements at Wirt County Middle School this year.
Very good. Any questions? Here none, we have a motion to approve the placement of Kelsey Means at Wirt County Middle School for WVUP student for clinical placement. Good day, Mr. Lowe. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Mark, we're down on new business number 2. We skipped the presentation till you guys got here, you and Brent, and then we'll go back to it. Okay. So we're at number 2, contracted services under new business. Need a motion to approve contracted services for deaf and hard of hearing, Best Life Therapies.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
So standard, we have contracted out deaf and hard of hearing services for many years, but just bringing that back to you for your approval. I don't think this one was ready when we brought the others back to you.
Any questions? Here none, we have a motion to approve the contracted services for deaf and hard of hearing, Best Life Therapies. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Need a motion to approve to authorize the position of Cook 3, Wirt County High School, temporary position to fill leave of absence.
So moved.
I'm sorry, I need to turn my phone off. You guys can't hear it, but I can hear it through my hearing aids. Mr. McCown.
So we have a medical leave of absence, and it's going to last longer than 30 days. So code says that if that arises, we've got to bring that and post that temporary position. And so bringing it to you for the board to authorize it, and then we will post it and fill it until such time that that employee returns back to work.
Questions? Here none, we have a motion to authorize the position of Cook 3, Wirt County High School, temporary position to fill a leave of absence. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, I'm sure Ms. Stewart will begin here any second. So let's go ahead and move forward with our presentation from McKinley. Mr. McCown?
So we have representatives from McKinney. As you recall, they were the successful candidate for pre-bond services, so they have been working with us, and they have got some information to share with you. And then they also provided a handout. So I don't want to spring all of this information on you at one board meeting and then ask you to give the bond call an up or down vote. So we had this meeting tonight for them to present information. You can take that information and the physical handout back, digest that, ask any questions that you might have. And then we will be having another special board meeting Friday, 5 o'clock next week, if that works for folks. That was making accommodations for Mr. Moore's schedule, with the sole thing on that agenda just being an up or down vote with that. So with that being said, I will let McKinley take the floor and go through the presentation. And since this is information and not a delegation, you can have some back and forth and ask some questions.
Good. Well, thank you for that. And that's an important part today. If you have any questions that come up, just stop us, because that's what it's about. And I would start by saying, what we're going to present today isn't the design. That's not the purpose here today. The purpose was to accumulate a program for the project and how many square feet need added to the school, how many square feet need demoed, and the different aspects of it, so that we can come up with a budget to approach the school building authority for funding, and then how much of the remaining funding will be in the proposed bond that we're going to show you. So we kind of broke it down into 4 sections. You have the new construction there, which is the new high school. That includes a new auxiliary gym, changing room, and locker rooms for the visitors team, and then a new bus garage that we're proposing because of the way we're moving the field, and we'll get into that. The second part of it is the existing school, the existing square feet in the school that we're keeping, the renovations, and we categorize that as heavy renovations and then light renovation, depending on what is required in the space. Safety and security is always a plus. We'll be able to upgrade all of your safety controlled access throughout the whole property, which is always a plus. And then the last part is the sports and athletic component of it. And Tom Werlich is with me. He's a senior architect. He will handle the academic. He will explain the academic portion of it. Jim Sauer he runs our sports division, and he'll talk about the sports division. So you have in your handout, and we have it on here too, but it's probably easier to follow it on your handout. Tom, you want to talk about it? So we worked with your staff and your principal on the space, the program of space, make sure we have enough classrooms in the schools and getting all the space. So you can walk them through this.
So the goal here is to figure out what the entire scope of the project is. So once we know, we have to do a little bit of investigation.
Do you mind getting in front of the microphone, because nobody in the studio audience can hear you otherwise? Thank you.
All right. As I said, the goal here is to find out what the scope of work is going to be. How much renovation, how much new construction, and it's a planning exercise right now. As Ernie said, this is not a design. This is a concept. Okay. It may not look like this in the end, but this is what we have to go through to be able to go after the funds, figure out what needs to be done, and the overall scope of work. So you'll see that the boxes in green are the homeroom classrooms for all the students, and then the other spaces, the special ed spaces, the spaces for different services are included there separately. So this is, so let me go back up here. So this is new spaces. Everything on this sheet is a brand new space, okay? So The administration area, which is the area above the beige line there, all that would be in a renovated space. So it would be heavy renovation. So it would be new administration wing, principal's office, conference room, and all that. And then below that, we have a brand new auxiliary gym and associated spaces with that auxiliary gym. This will make more sense once we get to the diagrams that I can point to things. So this is the kitchen cafeteria area. The intent is to replace the kitchen and then remodel your existing kitchen cafeteria area into a new kitchen, new dining area, enlarged and extra spaces included in there. So portions of it are new and portions of it are in heavy renovation, major renovation. And then when you get down to the end, we totaled up the total number of square feet, have a new build cost, and that new build cost is defined by the school building authority. So that kind of gives us our square footage cost. So that's the construction costs embedded in the school building authority's square foot number. And then estimates on the minor renovation, which is, minor renovations is usually just finish upgrades, you know, so it'll look like a newer space. And then major renovations is where we're moving walls and changing off, you know, light fixtures, HVAC, and things like that. And then the demolition costs to demolish parts of the older building, and then site work to reconfigure all that area. All right? So, as I said, this will make more sense once I start showing you the diagrams.
Could you go back one slide?
Sure.
So in the fourth column in green, the total dollar figure, but the other dollar figure is at per square foot. What does that represent? So like you said, the line that says new build subtotal, the
Yeah.
352, is that per square foot, or what is that?
Yeah, that's a square foot cost, except for the bottom one, which is per acre.
Gotcha, okay.
So, Tom, why don't you take a second there and just explain the project costs, what soft costs are, in case.
Yeah, so the project costs are the hard costs, the construction costs, building the building, okay? The soft costs there.
That's your top line, at $19 million.
Yeah, is the top line. And then the soft costs are those surveys, geotechnical work, RFEs, you know, all the other things that are associated with construction is lumped into the soft costs. Some contingency money in there, and it covers all the other things that are so that's the total is the hard costs, the hard construction costs, plus all the other services and associated with that. Okay?
Thank you.
So remember, we're just doing a big overall concept right now. We haven't gotten down to the nitty-gritty of design work. So the intent here is to, on the left-hand side of your school, so facing the front of your school to that field on the left, we would build classroom wings and auxiliary gym and a new kitchen. So all that work can be done while you're still having school. It won't affect, well, it'll affect slightly what you're doing now, but basically you'll be able to build all that while the school is still in session. And then once that is complete, then the construction would move to the other side. So we move all the kids over into the new wing. And on this side, we would demolish the existing building. We would remodel, the green areas are renovated spaces. And there's a couple of new spaces in purple in there where we took out some spaces and we had to put them back in. So, so dark green is demo, the light green is renovation. and the purple is actually new construction.
So I'll just add on to that. So the phasing is what we think. Obviously, we will sit down and get your opinion on it. So, you know, if we do the first phase on the left side of the building, you know, there's some implications of that. You're going to have construction going on if we do it during school, and we have to protect the kids, so we have to make sure. First of all, we don't know if that's the final design, if it's going to be that L shape or something close.
Yeah, we
to
don't, don't get too hung up on the layout, okay? It's just a way for us to,
Mash up the square feet to show you how many
Yes.
square feet. I get it.
And then we would put, you know, we'd have to configure that design so that we incorporate student drop-off, whether it's parent drop-off or bus drop-off. So that's not in there. We're not showing that here, but that's not the purpose of this. So our thought was build the first part, then as soon as the school year starts, we demo and start on the second part and get as much as that done.
so this way we could get a lot of the construction done and you can still have school, have kids in the school and not be so pushed up to the end to have to get it all done within a certain portion of time. It gives us a little bit of leeway in terms of the construction phases. But this is one concept. So you want to talk about the sports? Sure. And then we'll go over the whole program.
So I'm going to pass out, what you see there is in your thing is an abbreviated estimate because it's too large to put on the screen. So here's for the athletic field, Jim worked on a whole list here. I think this is 5 pages here that he'll go through there real quick just to show you what went into our estimate on bringing this number together, what he included, and he left some items in there to show you what he didn't include for various reasons. So I think it'll help you follow through.
Sure, thank you. Well, good evening or afternoon. Jim Sauer. So first, it's a very exciting location as far as sports. I mean, the stadium is the classic Midtown stadium where it has all the community that can walk to it. Looking through this, I thought this is a pretty exciting opportunity and a really nice opportunity as far as its location inside the campus and the future campus to be. A lot of the stadiums now are being pulled out, separated from the community, so you just don't have that kind of walk that everyone has as they come to the actual stadium. So looking at yours, and when I started going through the list, a little bit of my background, I've been developing sports for about 25, 30 years. So when we start to take a look at that, the reason why I have so many items on here, this is a lot of the list of things that will start to come up. But you actually have a very good foundation. Your field itself has kind of a slight roll as it rolls towards the river. Oh, this was working, but maybe it doesn't. It doesn't point at you? Huh. So the field itself has a slight roll as it goes towards, we'll say about 2 o'clock. And that rolls off into your floodplain. And as you can see, it kind of has about a 6-foot drop as it goes off into there. And then as the field goes towards the visitors, it also rolls off and then you have a floodplain as well. So that gives us little limitations. We want to make sure that we don't fill within that floodplain, because if we do, then we have to provide the space in order for that water to come into during a thing called an H&H. And so it's a review with the Army Corps. But with that being said, you know, some of the buildings, some of the structures, they had age to them. So we looked at, you know, if we tore those down on the visitor side, the visitors grandstand, that has to go. That doesn't meet any it's old. The visitors press box, we should probably just drop that sooner than later. But the other buildings, again, they didn't have as much. They are the classic stadium that we always had, where back in the day, our community used to come and build those things for us. You know, I mean, that was the kind of stadiums we all played in. The community, we got together, we built our stadiums. They weren't put together like they are now, and that's why they probably last so long. The very positive is, one, you have new sports lighting in it. You have a field that has a very nice grass base that is draining and it's really working. You have a really cool location. The home grandstands are in great shape. So the home grandstands, to fix those, the structural guts of the home grandstands are what's called an L-frame system. So, it's basically like putting together an erector set. I mean, it's no difference. If you guys remember your old erector sets, they were little L-frames and you just put the little bolts together. That's all we paid for those. So putting a new aluminum top on the top of it and fixing that up actually is really, really easy, especially the system you have. It looked like a Southern bleacher system to me, so it has all the stands that are bolted directly in the face as compared to being part of the actual structure system, so we don't actually have to cut them off. We can just unbolt it and get new seats, and unbolt the risers and get colored risers, unbolt the decking, get new decking. So with that being said, it literally can be moved and rotated and done with. The press box depends on if that's what you have the needs. I mean, unfortunately, press boxes can't get any bigger than 10 by 50 unless we have to put it in an elevator. The National Building Code came up with some grandiose idea, which I didn't write, that says 500 interior square feet. Does not have to meet ADA accessibility, but once we go over that, we do. So on a grandstand system like yours, which is going to have a raised press box, you can go 10 by 50. And then what we generally do to give you those extra spaces is that we'll put on, where the stair platforms come up, we'll cover the roofing over top of it, and we make into that a very nice observation and filming deck. Getting on the roof, which a lot of people would like to do, is basically subject to local review. Sometimes they consider it not to be fire accessible, the pull downstairs, and also sometimes you don't want your students on that. So a lot of the decks that I've built on the sides allows us to really supplement that very well. Oh yeah, okay, great. Yeah, and what Ernie said, unfortunately, 2 press boxes will equal elevators. Once you get past 500 square feet, the whole place has to go into compliance. So unfortunately, it's not 500, 500 on one, and the other one's just a little teeny tiny one that we get from Lowe's and stuff it up there. We'd have to have it 500 square feet total. So, but that's all right. I mean, realistically, your press box right now is a little skinnier. You put in a 500 square foot press box, what happens is a 10 by 10 room, which is home, then it's going to be media and announcing coverage. You can have that double tiered if you want. The other side is a 10 by 10 visitors, and then we just don't make the visitors' window open up so they get hot and they can't hear it. But with that being said, all your filming and stuff, we have an opportunity to bring that. Now you can, on a visitor side at a later date, if you decide that you want to build something like that, we can't stop you, but as far as meeting the code, that could be a problem. But my recommendation when we start looking through this is that when you start to look at a stadium, a lot of us get drawn into what we want to try to meet is like the state has these certain alignments, like, okay, we're going to meet, single A, or we're going to meet double A, and I want to have the maximum minimum of 2,000 people. Now remember that a grandstand is 18 inches per person is what they measure one person. So really, this is all they say that we are, which I'm a lot bigger than that one. Ernie says that all the time. So with being that short, but you also want to take a look at your average ticket base and say, in design for what you feel is going to be. You can always bring in portable bleachers in order to meet that big event, and the state will let you do it. But if you make too many seats, you're going to spend a tremendous amount up front. You're not going to have a return, and your players are always going to be playing to what they feel is an empty stadium. So there's a nice combination with that. And then also, when it comes to high school, and we went over that, we talked about, we're not making something that's actually the same field or event that you're going to have for college or pro. High school is a community event. There's a lot of us that when we think about high school, we can remember an entire game or a special event, but we won't even remember the score. We'll remember who was there, crowd noise, smell, everything, because high school becomes an event area. So when we start to look at those areas, we want to start to have opportunities for events. So when I started taking a look at this, I had several different options that we had shown, and the one option that was repeated through your needs was a track. As the students now currently running the streets, hopefully if they're running through the woods, if we're doing what do you call it? Cross country. But with that being said, that's a common theme. I've done this Wellsville. I've done this in several different schools where we didn't have the room for the two types of tracks that there are. There's a thing called an equal quadrant track, and there's a double bend track. The double bend track is the one that's really wide. You normally see in the Olympics, and you see in a lot of colleges. An equal quadrant track is the one that you see in all your schools that you go and play. The problem is the equal quadrant track is exceptionally long, and you don't have that space. Once I start to go towards the left, I start to go towards your neighbors, and again, the floodplain. Once I start to go towards the right, or I had it mixed up from there, but I start to go into where the school's at. But that doesn't mean that you can't still get a proper training. So what we did on here is we took the bends on the corner of the track that are similar to a double bend track. So it still had a radius in which an athlete would be accustomed to running, so we could put in an exchange zone. But it won't be at 400 meters. You know what I mean? So you'll be able to get your straightaways, you'll be able to train on your 100 meters, you'll be able to train on, obviously football, and everyone will do 40-yard dashes. Your phys ed classes, all your different sports teams will get out and run on that. It'll be nice on their knees and surfaces. And then we'll put 3 exchange zones. First exchange zone is always in the corner, so you can practice a turn-based exchange, and then you can practice your exchange zones in the straightaway. And it frames a nice field. I know that looks like turf. I just want you to see the size of it. On the ends, it still provides over 15 feet of runoff space, which is going to meet your college. On the sides, the very tight pinches, that is a 4-foot box around the field, so we have a 6-foot offset between that and the track, so that would still meet the corners. I would like it to be 12 feet. It needs to be the minimum 6. You have about 7 feet. My recommendations are that on those fences, I would put one of the, like you have on baseball fields, with the cap on it, which would make it nice. And again, high school, you don't have as much tackling on a fade corner that you would in a higher level, but they still want to have the runoff. And also, the reason you want the runoff in the back is that you can able to practice on it. But with a natural grass field, again, it has limitations. On this, one of the very first things that you start to think about whenever you have a stadium, especially if you're going to put in anything towards it, is how the people are going to approach it. So if we're going to come in and put some money towards a track, I did want, and has spoken and will speak, about entrances. There's not a lot of money in order to put a nice entrance into it, but boy, does it make a big pop. So 50% of the people that are going to come to a game, if actually more, are not, are there as a spectator, right? The spectator experience. How do we get them to come down and participate and watch this, right? So we have the games going on. 50% is going to be at least players and parents. The players and parents are going to come no matter what. But our goal with the stadium, especially when we upgrade it, is that for everyone to come and say, this makes sense, this looks really nice, we see a difference here. So on this one, we showed a little bit of an opening. We widened that a little bit to start to provide areas for gathering. We showed it a fence. We put the grandstand itself, we expanded the front of the grandstand so it would have a deck, so it would meet ADA, so you can accessibility integral with the grandstand, still using the shape. The only thing we added was the front deck, and then we added the ADA ramp, which would run parallel, and then a series of stairs that will allow you to come down so you can meet the code. From there, it goes on to the track, which is also going to be part of the walking space, and then we utilize both sides. And what that does is it allows us to have a gathering point that is going to be near a restroom and concession stand, so we can have students that can congregate without being in front of. We have lots of linear space, so we can have dads that can stand along the fence and talk about, everything about. We also have off to the right a little bit open space for what I call wiggle room, which is going to be your 10 to 12-year-olds or 8 to 12-year-olds that you currently are trying to go wild during games, and you need to have a place for them that they can at least. If you don't, they're just going to do it anyhow. So what we looked at is a slight movement of the grandstands, fixing up the new press box, a small realignment to the field, a track, and then looking at how the field and the stadium blends into the entry point. So whenever you look at it, it has kind of connection to the city. So new, and again, as Ernie said, these are just the thoughts. We have 3, 4. We have ones that take this to a higher level. We have ones that take it to a lower level. But the cost that we want to talk to you is something that will be similar to this as we move forward.
So, excuse me. So where the pole is beside the grandstands there, and then how it kind of goes up, that bluish color, is that blacktop?
Blacktop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming on the final plane where it goes back here, that's
Blacktop.
too?
Yeah, you'd have to. I mean, again, concrete would be better, and maybe we have the money for concrete. Once we start to get in there and we start to take a look at the pricing, maybe we'll be able to. But again, a lot of times on stadiums, what we'll do is come in, we'll put some focal points in concrete like that paw. All that is a flexiform, and a flexiform paw, a little color coating in it. I built one exactly like it in Wellsville, Ohio. If you guys type in Wellsville, Ohio, it looks really nice. But again, normally people are like cows. They're going to come, they're going to stand at the gate in mass, and then once they get through a gate, they're going to stand and try to figure it out. And then also, when we're doing a stadium, right now there's not a lot of gathering points. Everything is very linear, but that doesn't work with high school, because high school is going to, the student population gathers in groups and masses and kind of rotates, right? So they're going to want, normally they sit in front of a concession stand, so nobody can get to the concession stand. So that's why I kind of opened up that, we made the one building into a possible concession stand restroom. We also showed a little plaza there and made that area open on the left-hand side, because you're going to have an area that students are going to want to sit. We didn't show a visitor's grandstand. You can, but again, it depends on your numbers. If we put a nice temporary fence, or you have it ribboned off, you can easily have your visitors inside of the home, and all you do is you put your band right next to them, so they get to annoy them the entire time. And so again, those are the thoughts. And then exiting, you always want to have. That's why we have you'd have one focal point, so that way when you look through the streets, you would see that. I put the price in there for an arch again. Imagine a nice black arch, color coated, powder coated with an orange paw on the front. Again, I made this before. This stadium is crazily identical to in colors is one in Wellsville, obviously Clemson too. But again, it's fun colors to work with, black and orange, and again showing from the street. And then putting signs. Like right now, you guys have some signs on the back of your press box, but again, you accentuate that. You put that. Go down the street. You put some banners on the streets that have all your seniors on it, and now all of a sudden, that whole runway becomes part of your stadium. So some of those aren't that expensive. Some of the stuff is. I'm going to flip on this. I could talk about sports forever. Ernie's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Can you stay there? Let me say something. So I just wanted to give you an idea of the options we looked at. This option was to add it to the highest option. It was to keep your grandstand over here with the press box. That's another 500 square foot. So what's that mean? You're going to need 2 elevators for those. So it goes off. Also, you would need sidewalks going to both sides. Right. So this way we eliminated that. And then just that alone, having that, and that started to encroach on the floodplain, and we had to bring more fill in. It was over $5 million. I have those Mr. Leach. And the lowest cost was that we tried to keep the field right where it was, but it was like a rectangular track. So when you run around down the end of it, you're also making like a 90-degree turn to keep that track. And we've done that before. People accepted it, but you didn't like it, and we didn't like it either. But we put that option out there. This one, we moved the field down, and this is where the bus garage is. So this is what's causing the bus relocation. So the bus garage is right here. So we had to put a cost in with the bus garage. So.
And Ernie's discussion is excellent. He filled that in perfectly, because the fill, the more we start to put on the visitor side, the more we have fill. Fill has to be trucked in. It has to be trucked in quite a ways, or it has to be excavated someplace and trucked in. So those costs continues to go up, and that's a very good point. And then, yes, the bus garage, because of moving that out, the bus garages have to go. But now all of a sudden you could possibly use the area there for parking for the stadium as well too, or maybe it has another purpose. But that's a positive. And we came up with about 5 options from variable different levels. And again, this is not the final, but we wanted to show just enough that, again, this has a bit of pop, which is what you want. It has the needs of what you're looking for. It's conservative, and I think it looks nice. And then one thing that we did on this is, again, we're utilizing the track, and we would put the fence on the inside of the track, not to keep people off, so you could utilize the walking space during a game, and it would be bigger and open it up, and it would still allow people to get that close feel to the stadium that they always want to have. So it really has a great purpose. And then obviously the community would probably most likely come in and use that.
I have a funny story that, this emblem's Clemson's emblem also. So I was working from home, and my 7-year-old grandson was there, so he was leaving, he came in to give me a kiss, and he pointed, and I said like this because I was on a conference call, and he pointed and said, so he gets in the car with his mother, and he says, Pap's working on Clemson University Stadium. He won't tell me.
Yes, we are. This is again, it has a great idea. Like I said, having a stadium still tucked into the downtown is absolutely amazing. And having one that's walkable, where you can tell that everyone funnels down the street and starts to come into it. What an awesome opportunity. And
I got some questions there. Where are you saying the fence will be? Is that where the dark white is?
Yeah, I would end up, see, normally what we'd end up doing on a track is you would put a fence on the outside, but then we'd have a walkway. But in order to maximize the amount of space that you had, I had a fence on the inside. Again, we can change that, but right now, utilize the track surfacing as a walkway around the actual football complex, as well as the barrier to the football field.
Will that track be 400 meters?
It won't. It'll be a training track. So we would stripe it in traditional striping. So on something like this, what would happen is, and we may even have an extension, at one time, we would stripe 100-meter standard sprints. We would end up putting in an exchange zone here, and an exchange zone here, so you could work it. But again, we would probably try to adjust it as much as we could to, let's say, an even number, like a 300-meter or something like that. But it would be, again, it's called an asymmetrical track. So it's going to be training. It would not be event. You would be able to hold events. If we do hold events, understand that equal quadrant track has 100 meters here, but then it has to have 100 meters radius, and that actually comes out to about here. So when we start to put those in, it's quite significant. It's large enough that you can put a high jump into it. And then if we go to a double bend track, you can't normally get a high jump into it, but the width would almost go into the river. So there's about there's actually 240 feet between sideline to sideline on a double bend, and there's 202, 201 feet on normal for an equal quadrant. So we have to kind of combine those in the space that you have.
I also don't see any place there for concession stand.
Yeah, so we looked at, and Tom's going to talk about that, but we looked at repurposing of your buildings for concession stands. So you want to go over that?
Yeah.
Next slide?
Yeah.
And then we can go over cost.
So this is your existing annex building where the bathrooms are already there. So what we did is we extended the bathrooms into the corridor so that we can have some more stalls in the existing bathroom, so we get them a little bit larger. The one room becomes a concession stand, which will have roll-up doors on the field side. And then we have a ticket booth down below and some extra storage. And then we added on a visitor's locker room, separate from your, it's the opposite side of the field from your home locker room, separate and way away from everything else.
And again, we're just grabbing the square feet here. This is not a design because it might make sense to move the ticketing on the street side so that they're getting tickets over here and then coming in the entrance. We put the locker room over here, and some of the discussion today was maybe that we should keep it somewhere over that way in some of the existing space. So it can move anywhere. We're just capturing the square foot of the estimate. So
So don't get caught up on that design. But this is expensive here to move it. You know, you have the utilities here, you don't want to move that too far unless you move it somewhere that has plumbing.
Pound for pound, your restroom is the most expensive as far as it has so many different utilities as far as sanitary and water and so many of the hookups. So if we have a building that already has that, it's a lot more cost effective.
It's a lot easier to
And then also
enlarge
its
that.
location is really good. You know, if we open up the space around it and we start to be able to access the building from more than just that little sliver and that side, now all of a sudden we can take something that was a negative, turn it into a very good positive. And then as far as the visitors go, by the time putting down the outside, that allows your visitors not to have to migrate around your building, because you don't want them there. You have the opportunity for vandalism, you have the opportunity. They approaching the street is from bus to building, and from building to field, and then back. Now it's a very controlled environment, and you don't have to worry about any kind of damage, loitering in the school, locking, unlocking stuff. It's one door.
Used to be one concession.
There's one concession right now, yes.
Yeah, we're probably that we've got two different, I don't know, if it's a band, and which one the other is. but-
Junior concession.
Yeah.
Which we might be able to switch off week by week, you know?
Yeah, well, it's football, it's the way you set
Right.
5 games.
Right.
What you do on those is that you generally end up running two counters. So you end up having a bank counter and another counter, or we end up putting one window here and one there. And they you know, again, they're selling the same product, they're just collecting different things, so you can choose your counter. The nice
Yeah.
part about this is that, again, everybody that's working inside of the concession stand is a volunteer. No one's getting paid, so they want to be able to see the game. So when we looked at doing that, you know, depending on the windows are here or here, we still want some visibility here, and we still want some opportunity for stacking along here so you can see the game and not have to miss shots. But again, remember, that's why I showed all this gray area, because this is going to be the number one spot for all teenage girls in order to hang out and not watch one down football. Am I wrong?
But to your point though, if it's a big issue, we have that wiggle room that we could add another concession stand.
Sure.
Yeah.
If it's important for your community and put it there, because, you know, there's fundraising going on.
Right.
There's different ends, so.
Yeah.
That's the thing with
Yeah.
that. And also going back to, what did you say, the field and stay grass?
Yeah, yes.
It doesn't have to, but it costs.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to remind, seeing what the advantage of what you're getting up there compared to what we have now.
Right now, the difference that you're having is, you're having a track. So you have the training track that's around there, you're upgrading your bleacher systems so they don't have all the gaps and pitches in the bleacher systems. You're upgrading your press box system that you have, creating a visual to come into the stadium and really just providing the upgrades. I mean, right now, you have a stadium that, looking at the grandstands now, was, when those grandstands go in, like middle 90s, am I wrong about that, or?
That's probably about right.
That's right, and then the poles are new, as you know that, so you guys have been upgrading it, but the main base structure, as far as some of those buildings and some of the layout, that goes back to, you know, an older style, and all we're doing, football, baseball, all of them are upgrading, and you guys have put a lot into it, so you're already ahead. You don't have to go with a brand new grandstand, brand new lights. Most of the stuff we come in is almost slash and burn, but you know, what we're looking at is again providing something that will be used for training, but it'll also be used for the public. The public will come and use that track. You know, people love the safety of walking around in the track because they can leave at any given time. The students will love the opportunity to have someplace that has kind of a pop show of the community as well too. So those are small things. While we're moving bleachers, we might as well open some space up, because I guarantee you right now, you guys have all those little linear places are packed. Moving in that stadium is packed. I've never been to a game there, but that's because you could put in 5,000 seats in a high school, but it will not be used because it's not a sporting event, it's a community event. So we have to open it up to meet those kind of things. I'm sorry.
But I was just going to say that I think this may get you, because the biggest driver that we heard from what you're hearing in the community is the track, the practice track, getting that, or getting the kids.
Well, it'd be nice to have a action track. Because when I was in high school, we had one that was basically what you had, except it's wasn't asphalt, and it's 330, so you couldn't really train on it because, well, back when I lived in the yard, so 300. Well, you know,
Right.
you think what distance you went was 400, but it was only 300, so
Right.
you had to train yourself different on that, so you really couldn't call training, just be a place to use.
Yes, but that's what we heard, so that's what we did our plan, based on how can we add that track. So first of all, we had to move the grandstand back, right, to accommodate that. And then getting rid of the grandstand on the visitor side allowed us to go on that side.
So it wouldn't be no bleachers on the visitor side.
No bleachers on the visitor side. Once we start to put the bleachers on there, I'll start to have to put them 100% piers in order to try not to impact the floodplain. And then pound for pound, you know, I'll start to get into $900 and higher per seat. So it starts to really go up higher when I start to add in a pier system.
The infrastructure, I know you kind of heard, but the infrastructure, the sidewalks, the grandstand, press box, and the elevators, raised that, our estimate, $2 million, just to put the other side. And all the soil we had to bring in to truck in to cover that.
Yeah, right now, I think I had soil, the amount that I had trucked in was about 1,500 tons. But before, it was almost, you know, 5 times that, because as soon as I start to move it out, I have a 6-foot gap that I have to come in. It goes into 20% compaction. I'm getting 22 tons in a dump truck. So you think about the time. So whenever I take, let's put it this way, this is how much dirt you end up. When I take a field and convert it from natural grass to turf, I generally have 300 dump trucks of material that I haul out just to haul off the topsoil. So when I start to expand a field on one side and expand the field on the other, and I want it to be perfectly flat, that's not going to settle, so I can put this stuff on it, it generally adds up quick. Plus, we have to have tow drains, we have to have so on. So right now, the design that we had shown, you guys are very familiar with the site. So the floodplain curls up right here, and it comes right through here. So by doing that, I'll have most of my field. This kind of is higher, and it drops, and this is lower, and it comes up. So my wall of my field is going to be all of this, with that right there, currently goes and then drops over the hill. So I'll have to scrape off the topsoil, because we know that, and the existing dirt will be so-so. If that's not, I'll have to scrape that off, then I'll have to put in what's called fill keys, and then I'll have to put drains in fill keys, and then I'll have to put my dirt in there. And because it's in a floodplain or right next to it, it has to be put in there so it doesn't erode and all of a sudden.
So you're referring to the 100-year?
100-year, right, yeah. So what happens if we fill into that, you have to do a study. Like because we're near the floodplain, we'll still have to show a map showing where the floodplain is and our impact. They generally don't want us to fill more than a foot. Now, depending, certain rivers will say, okay, the floodplain is filled to the moon. You know what I mean? They just assume that the floodway and the floodway fringe, which means the river and the banks itself can hold all the water, and they don't care about that. But that's not where we're at. That's normally like cities like Pittsburgh, stuff like that, because there's a lot of development right on the river. So they know they're going to build into that. This one, once you start to deal in the 100-year floodplain, if we do encroach that, we have to do a study which will show what do we have to give back. So if we start to encroach that, maybe that whole parking lot has to be excavated inward in order for that flood water, in order to be able to settle back down. Because it's a pinch point, right? It's like jumping in the pool. You know, once I jump in the pool, I raise the water up. So the same thing goes with the dirt. Once we push it into there, when the water hits it, because it has a narrow space, water elevates. And if that elevates and expands the floodplain, then its impact on neighbors are our fault. So we have to prove it won't happen. So why do that? We just make sure we don't do anything. And it's more cost effective anyhow, because imported fill is expensive unless there's a big place that's digging a lot nearby where we could take all their dirt. So with that, utilizing this space that Tom did, this is excellent. Because again, remember, this is 12, 13 feet on the pinch point. This widens out, this widens out. This area can move together. If we put another concession over here, again, you have tons of space to move together. Your whole complex is maximized in order to allow movement on it. And so when we start to go through that, we can go over costs. And
So that's the abbreviated version.
oh, the abbreviated. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. So when we're looking at building this, we always have pre-construction costs. Those are going to be bonds, stakeout, ground radars. Unfortunately, sites like yours will have a lot of hidden treasures underneath of the ground that we don't know where they're at. I know that there's a gas line somewhere already, someone told me. So those are ones we don't want to just kind of, I always tell people there's a 1,000% chance that we'll hit the first utility on the first bucket if we don't know where they're at. And so what happens on old stadiums like this is that it needed to get fixed. Our maintenance department fixed it. We don't necessarily have records of it. So you end up having ground radar, building permit, mobilization. That's to bring all the equipment, people, and everybody here. Shop drawings, job trailer, one calls, and that's about $109,000. Erosion and sedimentation control. You're near the river, so we will still have to get what's called an MPDS permit, which will be filed through DEP, and you have silts. I won't go over into all those, but those are all the items in which will keep us compliant by the law in order to do construction activities and permits in today's current permit regulated West Virginia. Demolitions, demolitions is a high, but when we look at that, we have there's a utility pole with a meter that's right in the front. A second one, we have haul away of materials. Once we tear it down, about 20 truckloads. We have concrete posts and rails. You have some railings out there. We have demolition of bituminous pavement. We have demolition of concrete pavement. Demolition of the steel grandstands. Visitors press box only get $2,500. You can take that down with a chainsaw. That thing is, just take that down. Anyhow, ADA concrete viewing plaza would take down the fences, concession stand on the home side. We have goal posts. We end up having the wrestling building, capping all the utilities to those. So once we tear them down, we're going to make sure we cap it. So then we end up having visitor concession stand and its cap, bus garages, so on and so forth, at about $366,000 on my demolitions for that. So.
And that's a nice point to bring up. Depending on your area, that we have to provide a cost that we see across the state.
Yeah.
So here, you may have an excavator, a guy that has a company that's willing to do something like that could be considerably less. But we look at that as a contingency. This is what we see across the state. But once we get going here, there may be opportunities to lower some of those. We're covering it right now. That's the purpose of what we're doing.
And bid construction is always going to be high. And when I first got into it, I realized that the playground costs more than my house. And I thought, wow, how does that happen? So, I mean, so again, when we're looking at this and we start to move forward for a stadium, a lot of people are going to get excited about that in schools, and they're going to donate their services. And at that also gives you credit to count towards your portion as well too. So the very first thing we always tell people is when we're looking at this, should we have local? If someone's willing to take the material and he's like, yeah, I'll tear down all your buildings, can I have the scrap? You're like, yeah, you can have the scrap. Take it, sell it, do what you want. It gives us an opportunity to lower those costs. But if not, if we do it, this is general cost. Then utilities, we have water meter. As you guys know, there's several water meters over there. There's actually two. There's a fire hydrant, there's two air conditioners. We have electric service to pedestrian lighting that we put in, electric service to scoreboards, scoreboard relocation footing. Once we move a scoreboard, we have to have it structurally put back in. Electric service to the home press box. Two possible sport pole relocations. The ones that are against the hillside, we may have to relocate those. They won't want us to fill up against the lower access. There's an access panel at the bottom of those grandstands, so they may or may not. We put that in there. Again, so I have those. And then electrical services, the gates, new level spreader. Once we start to do this, depending on our overall stormwater requirements, because we'll still have to have, even if we're going from grass to grass, we'll have to prove that we don't need to have stormwater. If we do, we don't want to go through a DEP permit or Army Corps permit to go in the river, use what's called a level spreader. So I have one of those included there. It's just a big long thing that bubbles and then goes over the riverbank again. Then we start to go into sports fields, bulk grading, imported fill, that's a large number, but it's down. We end up having toe and key drains. Again, when you're putting in fill, that's allow any kind of groundwater or spring that may go to the field to move around it. We had numbers for all the system. For example, if that field didn't drain, I give you the square foot numbers and linear foot numbers for all the panel drain sprinkler systems, everything that we generally put into a natural grass field. But we also have some storm drains on the outside, bituminous pavement, the rubberized track surface, and that gives us $542,000 for the field and track. Then we have site improvements, so bituminous walkway interior of the stadium, concrete walkway on the streets, which we don't, but if we end up making sidewalks or whatever, I'd at least show you some of the pricing. Chain link fences. We have aluminum ornamental. I don't show that, but if we decide that a lot of times on the exterior, we'll end up putting like a nice aluminum in there. That's something to think about. If the money's there, it gives you the idea. Same thing with banners on the street. I showed a concrete stamp plaza. I show you one flagpole, but there's also the pricing for 30. A lot of times we'll put in American, maybe a local and a state flag. Grass play areas, which is just overall seating. Trash cans, if you decide to get ornamental trash cans, street lamps, it shows all of that items. Some of them have zeros, but I want to show you what their costs were. 377,429. And then grandstands. So grandstands, we have a retrofit of existing, so we're looking at about 13, right now, based off the measurements, about 1,360 seats is what we show, at about $300 a seat for renovation, so 400,000. That's about a third of what it would normally cost to build that. New decking system in the front, and then we also have new structural concrete underneath of it to meet that. Then I showed all the other items on there that are possible, that you can end up having the entire item enclosed, so the sides and the rear have all one color. You've seen that, what it's cost in order to paint it. And those, again, those are options in the future, but that gives you the pricing on what those would end up being like. Graphics for press box in the rear. And then also, when we do this one, we'll have to have a fire marshal upgrade on lighting. You don't have to do anything with restroom counts. Once you lower your seating count for a stadium, either keeping the same or lowering it, you don't go into a restroom code issue. If we raise the count, we now have to make the restrooms equal current bathroom codes.
So we're adding to your restrooms. And if you go to the plumbing code standard, we would have to even double that.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It generally comes out to be 1 per 25 and 1 per 50 on the project. Yeah. It's a lot of people. And then, so, but fire marshal, right now, West Virginia, we're building three new grandstands in Putnam, and the fire marshals are really now looking at making sure that we have, which they do in other states, but they want emergency ingress and egress lighting if the power comes out. So you have to have 1 foot candle, 2 foot candles on the grandstands for approximately 30 minutes. So I put 65,000 on there. That would be what's called an inverter system on the stadium lights that you currently have. Musco has them set up so you can just put an inverter. All of a sudden the power shuts out, the stadium lights stay on for 30 minutes and they shut off. The other option would be individual pack mounted lights that we put other places. So that cost could go down depending on it. And that puts a grand total, plus or minus about 2.5 million. And as we spoke before about contingencies would be, on this one, because this is dealing with things that the Lord has made, such as dirt and ground, you want to make sure that you have some stuff like that in order, so we have that. And then soft costs, again on this one, would be geotechnical, engineering, permitting fees, certain stuff like all those items.
Any questions on the sports? And I asked Jim to spend a lot of time on this because when you look at fields, it's always a sticker shock to most people when they see it. But once you see everything that needs to go into a field, in this case, mitigating the flood, the price gets up there. So I thought it was important for him to spend some time and go over that. So you said,
Now, will the field move also?
Yes.
Exactly.
No, it'll move over. I mean, right now, that field's great. You would still, we would have to do a little bit of minor grading in the middle to keep the crown. And then, again, it's a nice grass field. I mean, you mentioned synthetic turf. Positive about grass fields and negatives is that obviously a natural grass field definitely has a playability that turf is trying to match. So that's the positive. The positive about natural grass field is that you can buy grass seed, and if you aerate it, seed it, and then make the grass long during the summer so that everything gets a shaded root system, and you keep the play on it to just main games, then it's going to last for a long, long, long time. Synthetic turf, which I build a tremendous amount of those, the negative on that is obviously that once you get it, you hit the counter, and you have 8 to 10 years before you have to replace it. So if this is something that you think, hey, this is it, and we're, like you do, you have your major capital investment, but we're not looking for something that we have to keep, upgrading every 8 years. Natural grass is great. You have a practice area. Again, it'll be an amazing field.
So we do a lot of turf.
Do a lot of turf,
But you
yeah.
have to take into consideration, every 8 years you have to replace it.
Yeah, it's,
Well, I think grass is great. There's a lot of injuries on turf.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw it recently, the NFL Players Association sued the NFL. And they want grass fields back on other fields because of the injury factor. You're ahead of the game.
it has, it'll be a great surface. I was talking to your maintenance department when we were there, and they really have a tremendous grasp on what's needed. They talked about having a contracted local person that also helps work with your grass field. So if you understand what's involved in it, and you understand it's like having a small child that you have to care for and, listen to and make sure that you fertilize it and you give it love, then it's perfect. Unfortunately, a lot of schools, they don't take care of them or anything. I did stuff for the city of Pittsburgh, and we gave them a groomer for synthetic turf they put on a truck, never to be seen again. So, it just goes down to, I guess, old school ways to new school ways. And if you're going to take care of it, yeah, that grass field is going to last you a long time. And then when we talk about the track being a training track, yes, as far as the track team, if we put enough locations on it, they'll be able to train on at least 3/4 of their stuff. Now, yes, the larger 400 meters and 700 meter runs, you're going to have to get those and flag them so they understand where they're going to go, but their body will still be able to go through the endurance. But also is that we discount in rubberized track surfaces is baseball, softball, volleyball, basketball, all the different athletes that we stuff out on there and have them run. Because that's going to be the surface in which they're going to be able to run and still going to get on their knees and shin splints.
Which is better than no track golf.
Yeah, or it's also better than running around the basketball court over and over again.
Safer than running on the street.
And your community will use it. You open that up, and you will have a community involvement in there as well. Is there any questions? Nobody? It was exciting, wasn't it? We all love talking about sports.
We ran you a lot of information right now, which we wanted to get it out there, but So what does it look like when it's done? Okay. So this is the final footprint with the new classroom wing. It's a plan, okay. It's a concept. It's an image that we could use to generate some cost. So to the left there, the purple and the beige, that is all brand new, new classrooms and a new auxiliary gym that's adjacent to your existing gym and a new kitchen. And then the green right there in the middle is a new administration area and your dining area. The gym and the auditorium are in pretty good shape, so we don't need to do much to those.
Is the area to the left of the corridor, the skinnier part there, is that going to take over as parking?
Yes, we will have to rework the parking.
Pardon me? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We will have, yeah, it's taking over the parking right
Okay, I
now.
was just-
But we'll have to rework the parking. We have a lot of area over there for parking, so.
Sure.
The whole board office.
It's right there where the PA is. Yeah.
We already have a new one of those.
No, we have parking, that's not used, yeah.
Okay.
The one thing
problem with looking at too, is we want to make sure we have areas for buses that you start to stack and line up. So that's why we show some linear things in the front.
So it gives you an opportunity to pull the buses off the street and be able to load and unload safely.
Which that, so I'm assuming that dark border. right
Yeah,
there
that dark
will still
border.
remain parking. as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, now where did you say the kitchen and the dining area would be?
So the kitchen is that brown portion right there, that's all brand new. And then the dining would be where the old kitchen and dining area is in the existing building. And that'll all be refurbished. And then on the right side, we're upgrading the locker rooms, so get some new finishes in there. That corridor is all brand new down the front. And then doing some work in the CTE, and we replaced the band room and the art room. So that the existing band room becomes part of the CTE space, and then we'll have a new band room and a new art room there. And then we're showing down there on the annex building, that'll all get remodeled. We already showed you that with the visitor locker room there. So that's the concept we put together to be able to get some pricing so that you can go after your bond. As I said, this is not the final plan. This is a concept.
Auxiliary gym, I'm assuming probably, the floor will be regulation, probably bleachers just on one side. The auxiliary gym.
On the auxiliary gym, yeah, it's a smaller gym. It will have a small amount of bleachers to it because it's intended for practice, not for games.
Regular size court, limited seating on one side.
Yeah. Any questions?
It also, on the layout, gives you a nice campus feel, and that's one thing that, with the combination of how the buildings are and everything up in front, it has some really nice visibility. I think that, as you walk through, there's going to be a lot of nice light. You have the river on one side, the campus field on the other, so there's a lot of opportunities to blend that and roll that together. I think that's why we didn't show as much parking right now. That would be the needs generated.
Yeah, we'll
I
work.
guess I just assumed, I just wanted to ask.
So it will look and feel like a new building once we get done.
So, just stay there for a second, go back. So, again, you've heard us say this again, this is a concept, okay? And it's so important that you understand that, to the fact that this shouldn't be shared with the public, because we want to have meetings in the coming months with the public. We want them to get buy-in and tell us what they like, so that, it's not a limited amount of people putting this plan out and say, here, take it away. We need to pass this bond, so we need to have a series of meetings, which we'll go over, to say, what do you like? Here's where we are now. What do you like about this? What don't you like? And see how we can accommodate. Some of them we will be able to, some of them we just won't be able to accommodate. Most times we can't accommodate things because of cost, and we're limited in cost. So I just wanted to caution you on that. It's important. That wing over there, with the academic wing, I would probably bet any money you wanted that, it probably doesn't end up like that. But again, we were just capturing the square footage so that we can get the next.
Yeah, that's a one-story wing right now, so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and we have a lot of work to do, obviously, before we get to the point of actually construction. So we have a lot of planning and things to be done prior to this, but this is the start. This is where we get the information, put it together, pull together some estimates, rough global estimates, so that you can go after a bond and go after SBA money, so.
So to get to the part that you're all waiting for, here's the cost. So the high school alone, you're at, our estimates are $23,200,000. The athletic fields in the bleacher scope, we have that at $3 million. The new Russ garage is relocating yet. We have an estimate on it at $900,000. And then your bond and finance council that you'll bring on board once they're working for you now to get the bond ballot completed. Once you pass the bond, then they'll kick in and prepare it so that it can be sold, and you got $200,000. So total project cost, you're at $27,300,000. We've had numerous conversations with the SBA. We actually went to them and asked for 20 million. They were at 15 million when we first talked to them, and so we had to settle on 18. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The SBA, they have a lot of commitments that are multi-year commitments now. The biggest one is Wirt County. It's passed the bond, and they're getting $45 million from the SBA. Probably the biggest award. It is the biggest award ever. And I think they have 3 other multi-year grants out there, so that's taking money away. So they were limited in what they could do. And then also, normally, all the bonds we passed, and I told you before, we passed 14 bonds now in the state. Normally, this number is flipped. The bond is usually higher than what we're asking, what we ask for the SBA. But because of your situation, we had to tell them about your bonding capacity and what you can do. And so it's flipped. Usually, the local bond is probably 60 to 70% of the project, and you usually go back and ask the SBA for that difference. We flipped it here, and they agreed to it. So I think that they were more than fair with us.
Karen, what is our bond capacity?
It's 15,000.
15.
So that's one of your big decisions as a board treasurer and superintendent is that bonding capacity. I think that is like 60, just a little over 60% of your bonding capacity, which you have to decide if you're comfortable with. Earlier question came up that, what will that cost the average homeowner? Joseph Bassett will be providing that to you on Monday, and he usually does it. He'll give you charts, but the normal thing we do is say, on a $100,000 home, how much will that cost you per month per each rent? And then you could evaluate that. So if a person has a $200,000 home, it's easy just to double that and vice versa. So you'll have that to consider on this one. So.
Yeah, I think when we built the middle school, Karen, you might remember too.
That was actually before my day.
But I think we had $5 million bond that time.
And that was under my lease.
Yeah. Well, and that was like a 98% bond at that time. Yeah.
So you went up to 98% of your capacity?
We only got less than 5,000 people total in this county.
Yeah. So, I'm surprised because the rule of thumb out there is 75 to 80% should be your max to go up against it, and you guys are up against it.
I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but I think I'm probably close.
There's no rule against doing it, it's just the comfort level that.
Right. Well,
Pretty
we're
awesome.
very fortunate. We've been very fortunate that our county really supports our schools. And I want to make sure that's said.
It's the main thing in our community.
Well, and I'd just like to throw out there that we have taken very good care of the facility, and it looks good for its age, but the main part of the main building is nearly 100 years old, and Dottie could attest to that. If I got to be 100 years old, I wouldn't look nearly as good as what the high school does. But there are some issues that you are inevitably going to have with that building. So we have the opportunity here to work with the school building authority to put a thing in there that's going to last for another 75, 80, 100 years for a whole other generation of kids. And Dottie will also tell you that if we don't do something, sooner or later, something is going to give in that building and cause an issue potentially where we couldn't use a portion of it or something that's just going to be bad. So I think we've got this opportunity to do something for the next generation of Wirt County students. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you think about
It's for those, that future. Somebody paid for my child, and it's my turn to pay for their child.
I don't know if you remember the first time you walked into the building and what I told you.
Yep.
You're your worst enemy because you take care of your building so well that somebody like the SBA can go in there and say, you don't need to build it. But buildings do have a lifespan. And when when you get to 100 years old, you're just throwing good money after bad, and it's going to end like you just said. I mean, and it's unfair. I mean, it's out there because there's counties out there that don't take care of buildings that are so bad that it's an emergency that the SBA has to come in. And so sometimes it's not fair how it's judged, so.
But you're also going to be saving in energy costs because it's going to be a lot easier to maintain and heat and cool, and your maintenance costs will go way down. You know, the materials we use now require a lot less maintenance. The floors don't need to be stripped or waxed. So all that summer that you spend stripping and waxing your floors, your maintenance people can be doing other things instead of stripping and waxing the floors. So.
You just made a bunch of custodians possibly happy in the future.
I was gonna say they're better.
I just heard about that.
Is there another?
So here's a schedule that we put together that, in the coming weeks. So obviously, tonight we're having a meeting on the 14th to just to review so that you can get your first look at it and ask any questions. The Board of Election wants to see a proposed bond on August 18th, and the bond attorneys are working on that, and they will have that submitted. We have the SBA meeting that's scheduled for Wednesday, August 19th at 10 o'clock. That's a virtual meeting, and you'll have to be on that to approve the bond, and that allows us to move forward. And then the board will have to have a board meeting to vote on the final bond as presented on August 21st, and then we will submit the final bond ballot to the Board of Election. So that's the time frame we're looking at for the next 2 weeks to get this completed.
But once we go, this is the statutory stuff that we have to have in order to put the bond on, and if we don't put the bond on, it's 2 years before we can put it on.
That's right.
But after, this is stuff we as a board do statutorily, but after that, we will be having these meetings with our public, so they
Yes.
have input, because right now, what's going to happen, you know, you said not to share with the public, well, we're a public board.
They're there, they've seen it, so.
Well, I understand it.
We need to do that so this doesn't become ingrained as, well, as you
Yeah.
said, this is to get the costs.
Right.
Okay, so when people look at that, I mean, we have really smart people, and they're going to say, well, you know, we can move this over here.
Yeah.
So those things are coming.
Yeah. So
Alex.
here's kind of the schedule that I put together. The bond planning is occurring now, and that's what we're working on now. We're calling it, you know, up through September, we get the SBA needs application submitted, which has to be done in September. We start working on schematic designs, and that's the part where we'll start coming in here, forming committees that you need to put together and get community support, getting stakeholders in to get them to the point where it's more of a final of what the school is going to look like. And then we get the renderings of the, we can render the entrance, we could render, you know, classrooms, lab spaces, whatever we think that would serve the public. So all that leads to bond passage in November, and then the SBA board is in December. And you know, normally there's never been a bond that's been passed that the SBA did support with their, because you'll see, and I catch it on, you'll see all the language that comes from the SBA that there is no guarantee that you'll be funded. And all that means is that there's no guarantee that you won't be funded this December. You can be funded next semester. But I think there's never been a school bond passed in the state that wasn't supported by the SBA with their commitment. So I don't want to jinx it by saying that. And again, once that's funded, I'll let your bond counsel tell you, but there's a period of time where I think somewhere during the first quarter, and I don't know if you know this or not, but they'll explain it to you. I think it's somewhere during the first quarter that you have to wait then and sell your bonds, your actual bonds to the market. And then that whole time, you know, we're designing designing here, preliminary schematics, renderings. After this, we can get started in the design on the fire project. So the quicker we get through the design, through that design, we'll have a schedule on the whole thing. So what's the optimal time to get these projects out into the market so that we have a good bid day? And then obviously we're taking into consideration how to minimize the disruption of the campus during construction, during the school. So that's our presentation right there, and we've given you a lot. And if you don't have any questions, you may think of them tonight, tomorrow. Just let us know what those are. I think we need to keep the lines of communications open so that we can keep this moving, so that when we get to that, your vote, that we're pretty much set. We all have a good understanding, and that's what we're here for, answering questions tonight and for the next 4 years.
Questions?
So are you meeting on Monday, did I understand that correctly, with Mr. McCowan on, you mentioned something about a $100,000 form and how much the cost of the taxes will be? You said something.
So
about having that discussion Monday or something?
That, it'll probably be like a Teams meeting, one with that group of people talking about with the answering that question, yes. Not a physical meeting here, it'll be a Teams meeting on the computer where we're discussing that.
Okay, we need to be informed, what results of that meeting.
I can share that information with you.
So I think it's going to be around, looking from the availability that's been coming back,
Yep.
it's going to be somewhere around 2 o'clock, I think.
Okay.
We don't have communication, we don't have nothing.
Yeah,
I can share that with you.
That's important here. We have to communicate so that the thing that'll kill a bond is, I don't know what's going on. So
Yeah.
everybody needs to know what's going on, and there's no question that's a bad question or a stupid question at this point. Whatever you have, ask it, so that we can get it. So he will provide you a list of those rates for different classes also. And you'll be able to see those.
Yeah, and that'll become important from however our vote goes, okay? If our vote goes yay, those figures will become important to our public from that point until November. I mean, that'll have to be shoved down and shoved down and shoved down, so our public knows that, we're going to put a bond on the ballot, and this is what it's going to cost you, okay? And so between September or the end of August, September to November, those figures will become, we need to put them out everywhere.
And I've mentioned this in the past. We've had these discussions in the past, some of them, but it's always been a concern to me when, not if, when the dam goes out, how much is everything going to slide down the river? Because that water is whole. I mean, they took out the Leachtown Dam, and that water went down, and then there's mudslides coming in, how much it might affect a new high school. So I sound like Debbie Downer, but I think we need to look at that,
I'm not going to answer because we're going to have,
A lot of stuff.
well, I'm going to call for a special board meeting, which as president I can, for the approval of bond on August 21st. And I think, Mark, then we can have those discussions because then we have a motion on the table. Right now, it's just information. Us going back and forth, but there's not, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
So you reminded me of something when you were talking about the bond. Okay, so your bond, he will estimate your bonds and not, I'm probably not doing this justice by explaining it, or he should explain it to you. Say the market is 4% today on these type of bonds. He's going to tell you, he's obligated to tell you, he's going to give you prices on if the bond sold at 6%, which is
Right.
the worst case scenario. So that, it's always better to err on the high side. Okay, so So if he's, the rates he's gonna give it, you say it's 6%, but they've been trading at 4% for the last 5 years. Normally it's gonna stay there, but legally he has to give it at a higher rate. So whatever he provides you with will be at a higher rate than what it is. And that's part of the campaign. We have to communicate that message to the voters so that they understand it. And it's a requirement that he has to do, so it's not something that's underhanded or anything like that. By saying that. It's explained.
Didn't you mention that you have to have the Army Corps of Engineers inspect, kind of what Mr. Lowe was touching on? Do they come in and make sure that you're able to build the school, like with his concern, you know, are they going to come in and say yay or nay to where we're wanting?
If it's inside of the 100-year floodplain, then yeah, we would have to. But if it's outside of the 100-year floodplain, then it's been mapped. So the FEMA comes in and does an actual survey, and the Army Corps of Engineers maps the actual area. That area is based off of what can happen for a 100-year flood. So a 100-year flood is like a hurricane item, you think. That's what we consider the 100-year flood. So that's the highest possible, they feel the highest possible flood can possibly would be. They come once every 100 years. Now, if we talk about something that breaks or some sort of, that's a different item. I mean, if you had a catastrophe, then I can promise that the 100-year floodplain is part of their mapping. That's something that we discussed with the Army Corps. But we wouldn't have to go to the Army Corps of Engineers to build a school as long as we're staying outside of the floodplain.
And that plan we showed you is out.
But you still have to go to enforcement. Remember, we go to DEP.
Yeah.
So the Department of Environmental Protection now, if they feel that there's any need for that, they'll always pump us over there. So the Department of Environmental Protection will have to do what's called National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Permit, NPDES, and that has post-construction as well as during construction. So post-construction would be our stormwater management requirements that we have that has to be theirs, which is relatively new to West Virginia. It's been definitely increased over the last 5 years, and then it has what we have to do during construction in order to maintain. If at any point they felt that we were impacting the flood or floodplain, then it would be kicked over the floor. Does that answer everyone's question?
I do know in the past, a lot of people have had surveyors actually not go by the map, because we found that the map was wrong. And a lot of people found that before that they changed the 100 years. That their house was in, and then all of a sudden they found their house wasn't in the floodplain, had surveyors back and found out that map was wrong.
So what happens is if you decide to build inside of the floodplain, your local municipality or DEP committee do what's called FEMA floodplain map review, where they come out and actually do it. That doesn't mean that they do. So there is some places that the floodplain is not accurate as far as the mapping. But generally what happens on the mapping is they give an elevation. Your zone is zone 80 or whatever.
Right, I understand that. That's where they have these surveyors not checking elevations.
So you have to have a survey done to your property for development, would include floodway, so it's called ALTA survey, just to make it simple. ALTA survey comes out when you're doing a project this size, and will show the deeds, will show the right-of-ways, it will show all the encroachments, that way we can make sure we don't build anything on a piece of property that we don't own. If you don't own the floodway, we need your property design on to build on it. So with that being said, they will check the floodplain. The floodplain map is a 960 to 100-year floodplain. That's how they do it. They have one elevation, and they run it, and they would be able to take a look at that. Your building being as old as it is, I'd be surprised if the floodplain map is incorrect on your location, because of how much development. But that young lady that had that, who knows, they might have lied for the insurance and said their house was not in there because insurance coverage. If you're in the floodplain and they're out of the floodplain, it's significantly more insurance.
Okay, so where we're at, guys, I'm going to, if everybody can make it, I'm going to call a special meeting of the Wirt County Board of Education for proposed bond. on Friday the 21st, which is next Friday. 5 o'clock work for everybody? It's different, but it's a special meeting. 5 o'clock work for you, Mr. Locke? I think so. On Friday, so we'll do that. And also, Mr. McCowan, if there's anything else that we need to do for start of school, if there's more personnel,
Okay,
please feel free to put that on there.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Now, one other question, do we have any freedom of changing certain things that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, as Tom and Enrico said, all the items on here are shown for square footage, and so we could get a reasonable number for the bond or the SBA without just coming up with just.
I agree. The academic wing, by the time it's done, will not look like that. I have ideas.
That's what I said. So let me clarify that. Okay, so the changes that you want to make, if it increases the scope, the only thing that's going to increase is the bond amount.
Right.
The SBA is set, so so if you increase the scope, then the bond amount could go down.
That ends that.
Okay, so you'll take care of that?
Yes.
That doesn't take a vote or anything, it's just calling a special
And I
meeting.
had one more thing also, and just to reiterate, questions tonight during the week, please share. Let's keep the lines of communication open throughout the week, so that if there's any questions, we can get taken care of and answered beforehand. So that, if we give you an answer and it needs clarification, we're taking care of that throughout the week.
Okay, so at this time,
I didn't want to end the meeting on talking about the floodplain, so I thought I'd put.
The floodplain's not exciting. I wouldn't worry about that, because, again, part of we're not even allowed to start getting a permit review and
He's going back to it.
that doesn't have all that stuff.
Yeah, Clemson Stadium out there. You're going
I know.
okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.